Thanks for being here, everyone. I think they hopefully saved some of the best for last or near last. I'm Tom Kottler. I'm the CEO of Sonopor. Sonopor is an ultrasonic drug delivery company transforming the power of systemic medications. Sonopor uses our proprietary ultrasound drug delivery system to transform existing therapeutics to achieve ultra-rapid, localized drug delivery, independent of blood supply, with materially higher tissue concentrations and materially lower systemic exposure of those drugs, allowing for new uses and new indications across a very wide and broad range of existing medications, anti-infectives, biologics, monoclonal antibodies, and oncolytics. We are at the intersection of a variety of major changes in the industry: IV to subcutaneous delivery, use of ultrasound for therapeutics, drug repurposing, and improving healthcare efficiency. The problem here is that systemic drug delivery, be it oral, intravenous, or intramuscular, requires a concentration of drug that is often too high, thereby resulting in toxic exposure, or too low to avoid toxicities to achieve therapeutic benefit. This results in negative outcomes, both in terms of antibiotic resistance, significant causes of mortality, and major toxic side effects. Our solution uses ultrasound and the local subcutaneous delivery of systemic medications to achieve higher levels of efficiency and efficacy, bypassing the circulatory system, which is critically important for any patient with compromised blood flow, delivering the drugs at materially higher local concentrations with materially lower systemic exposures. To give you an example, we've delivered cefazolin, a first-generation antibiotic, cephalosporin, 50-year-old drug, at 277 times higher local tissue concentrations than are available through intravenous delivery at 29 times lower systemic exposure. So imagine the benefits, for example, delivering a chemotherapeutic at 200 times higher local tissue concentration, but materially reducing the potential negative toxic side effects. Our special sauce is taking three ordinary components: drug that's been used for 50 years, saline, and ultrasound, and putting them together, creating a fundamentally low-risk commercialization pathway with a fundamentally high-margin business with greater than pharmaceutical margins. Protected by 7 existing patents, 10 pending or in-process patents as well, so a significant portfolio to protect us once commercialized. Our initial development is going to be with a drug called cefazolin, a first-generation cephalosporin. And I might add, we've performed over 140 procedures to date with a 97% success rate, 0 observed adverse events associated with those 140 procedures, principally using cefazolin to do magical things. We treat MRSA with cefazolin using our system. It is not indicated for the treatment of MRSA. We have treated 12 bone and tissue indications with cefazolin, none of which it is presently indicated for. After that, we'll go after other antibiotics, the delivery of biologics and monoclonal antibodies, and after that, the delivery of oncolytics. Our initial focus is the local delivery of antibiotics with multiple indications, no requirement of drug reformulation, and extremely favorable economics. We estimate that the procedure kit we will be selling will cost between $50 to $75. Our estimate for reimbursement is between $3,000 and $5,000 per kit. The markets we're going after initially are in infected chronic wounds, diabetic foot ulcers, venous stasis ulcers, decubitus ulcers, as well as acute bacterial skin structure infections, and a variety of bone and bone-related infections. These are very large, global, multi-billion-dollar markets with tremendous costs associated with each treatment. For example, the average cost to treat a single MRSA infection in the United States is approximately $60,000. We can treat one for under $10,000. The procedure itself is safe, simple, and effective. Local sedation, followed by subcutaneous delivery of the drug through a syringe or a blunt cannula to the point where the skin area around the infection tumesces slightly, and then 2 to 3 minutes of ultrasound massage with a proprietary ultrasound. That's it. We are often replacing standard of care, which in many cases is weeks of IV antibiotic therapy, with a single, one-time, 10-minute procedure. To that example, our initial indication we're going for is going to be for diabetic foot infections, a huge and growing market both here and abroad. Standard of care today is 5 to 7 days in the hospital, 5 to 7 days at home with IV, 2 weeks of oral therapy for a projected average cost per infection of $30,000. Compare that to UD2. 1 day in the hospital as an outpatient, 14 days of telephonic follow-up at a total cost of approximately $7,000. This is an example of just one patient we've treated with UD2 of the over 140, an obese 70-year-old diabetic woman with a refractory, significant diabetic foot ulcer, and you can actually see the infection. Treated with UD2 once after failing 3 prior treatment efforts, she had almost all of her major clinical signs of infection abate within 24 hours. Within weeks, the wound was healed. There's been no recurrence of this infection. There was no recurrence of this infection for more than 2 years post wound healing follow-up. Our go-to-market strategy is to create the proprietary ultrasound machines, to give them away with a 3-year contract for a minimum take of procedure kits, to get and to cross-label the procedure kit with the expanded label for the antibiotic with our proprietary ultrasound, so that one must be used with the other to stay on label. We are quick to market. We will be to market, we estimate, in 2.5 to 3 years post-funding for a very low amount, given the size of these markets and this opportunity of approximately $20 million. The regulatory pathway is clear and extremely low risk, and it leads to significant revenue opportunities. The assumptions here are US only, even though there are massive markets in India, China, and the Middle East, and Europe. And our US only revenue for just our first indication alone, we estimate conservatively to be approximately $70 million, 3 years post-approval. We have an experienced team of physicians and engineers to bring our vision for this product to market, and several significant academic collaborators. And in fact, we just received the other day our first IRB approval to do 10 patients at the Keck Medical Center at USC under the auspices of Dr. David Armstrong, one of the world's leading experts in limb salvage. We're seeking to close our seed round of $3 million in the next 60 to 90 days, followed immediately by a Series A of 20 to 25 million, which will be sufficient funding to get us through our phase 3 study for cefazolin for new indications and a new route of administration, as well as to finalize our device development and get de novo approval for the device. And that 20 to 25 million also contains sufficient cash to commercialize our product and get us to first revenue. Thank you.